So some real world security issues that you need to really watch out for. These are some of the practical challenges that you may face and you may get surprised. So when you're deactivating the supervisory organization, say you move all the workers, you close all the staffing actions within the supervisory organization, and you try to deactivate the supervisory organization and all the role assignments, you would probably at that time would need to reassign it to somebody else, or the roles could go to along with the workers to another supervisory organization. So if you deactivate a supervisory organization, try to make sure that you retain the role assignments. Otherwise, you will lose access to the previously termed worker records, which are part of the deactivated org and not an active organization. So what should one do? A practical suggestion could be that whenever you are trying to deactivate a supervisory organization, or close it down, or move all the workers out of it, and you don't need it support, first try to move all the workers, and all the role assignments, have those role assigned to somebody else, or have it automatically inherit to the superior organization, and just rename the support, like put a DNU in the top, or do not use, or expired, or inactive, or not available, and don't deactivate the support. Otherwise, all the terminated worker history related to that supervisory organization will not be available for you to view at. Correct. Some tips for managing security. So, common practices or suggestions. Keep in mind the following practices when determining requirements for your security configuration and during live in production. So try to leverage the default security groups provided by Workday. Of course, the more security groups you have, the more you would need to maintain the membership and the assignments and the configuration and the complexity of multiple security groups in addition to what is provided by Workday. So when you're setting up the tenant, try to start with the user-based security groups for your administrators, such as benefit administrator, compensation administrator, payroll administrator, HR administrator, and as a setup and configure the system for their functional areas with unconstrained access. So when you set up a user-based security group, you give them access to the entire tenant of their functional domain. It's not based on users, it's not based on supervisory organizations. It is unconstrained, and it can be enabled for specific functional areas for domains that you would like that user or that security group to have access to. In the next step, try to layer in the role-based constrained security groups for your support and leadership staff. By role-based, I am referring to, benefits partner, HR partner, compensation partner, managers, manager, owner of the supervisory organization, and so on. So assign role at the highest node in the hierarchy. So in your support, subordinated, superior organization, say, for example, you're creating sales and marketing. So try to assign the roles at the top level support, so it can inherit in all the subordinate organizations as a inheritance from this superior organization. And the hierarchy will automatically start taking shape, and all the assignments could trickle down from the superior organization. So assign roles at the highest node in the hierarchy to take advantage of inheritance, and when using current organization and unassigned organization subordinate access right. So when you're configuring your role base, try to set it up in this way so it'll make your life a little bit easier rather than assigning going to each superorg, and that's a superior organization, going to all the subordinates, trying to assign the roles individually. So try to leverage on the uh, security role or security group role type configurations that you can assign to current and all unassigned subordinate rights. So keep in mind efficiency. So the more complex constraint on target access, example, intersection security, the more filtering and greater potential of impact on performance. Next is consider each functional area for any security group type constraints or limitation. For example, some security policies do not support constrained security groups. And some areas of Workday do not support intersection where the entire organization is assumed. Another suggestion is run the security exception audit report to diagnose issues before and after each update at minimum. So do you leverage on this report, which is called the security exception report, and before you apply changes or activated security policy, do run this report. Have a look at it, see what are the exceptions in audit, and if you are okay with those exceptions that the system is showing, and you own those exceptions, then that's fine. That you know that what exceptions that you are ignoring, or you have addressed them already, and you are okay with that. But if the exception starts growing, uh, keep a watchful eye on that. Let's look at this report, security exception audit. So what this report does, it based on your current last activated timestamp on your activate pending security policy changes, the last one, and after that, how many exceptions do you have in this domain security policy, business process, and security group exceptions. So for example, how do we read this? Say administrator activity stream, classification is application, severity is critical. It says a problem exists with accounting manager role-based security group, and then the description or errors or warning. And there could be a case that Workday sees it as an exception, but maybe for your system and for your tenant and being a domain administrator, HR admin, you know that this has changed and this has caused this, and you are okay with it, so you can ignore this or park it. So I'm looking at 142 exceptions for domain security. I'm looking at 69 exceptions for domain security policy, business process policy, and about 35 security group exceptions. So after I apply my changes, and if these exceptions starts growing incrementally, then that should be alarming. So either you can look at those issues, put a pin on it, and address them then and there, or if they're not and they're part of your existing list and they're not growing, so you're comfortable with that. So this is a good reference report for checking for any exceptions that the system may see when you apply your security changes pre and post activation of a policy. So try to make this a habit, and when you're managing security, uh, keep an eye on this report. So this will pre-warn you for any of the potential problems that may arise from your tenant in case of any issues. Integration system security group. Okay. Let's look at the report called View Integration System Report. It says select the payroll interface full extract file. So when we open the integration system, we can look at these Workday account that it's referring to. So click the Workday account related actions, click on security profile and view security group. So notice the Workday account specified for the integration. So let's go to security profile and view security group. So now we can see for IS underscore PI underscore user, which is the integration system user. Generally, this is a naming convention for integration users that we create in our tenant. So we started with the IS. So it has the security group assigned as all users, which is an all user group, which is a public group. Then it has editor, it has payroll interface system. The security groups are unconstrained groups and user-based groups, and then the viewer security group. Click the Workday account related security group, select security profile, view security group, and click the payroll interface system security group. And what is the security group type and who are the members of the security? So can somebody tell me the answers to question A and answer to question B? So what is a security group type and who are the members of the security group? Okay, let me help a little bit. So you have a category for integration systems security group as well. The security group type is integration system security group. So for example, if I say here, view security groups, if I select the type of security groups, I should be able to see a list or type of security group called intersection security group. Sorry. Integration system, THI. There we go. So you have these two security group types as well. Integration system security group constrained or integration security system security group unconstrained. So in addition to role-based, user-based, intersection, we can create these types of security groups as well, such as integration system security group constrained and integration system security group unconstrained as well. So when you're looking at the security group type, the heading will tell you the type of security group it is and the subtype, and then the name of the security group. Now, the second part of the question was, who are the users in the security or who are the members of the security group? So these are the members of the security group. And for example, as you mentioned Singapore, so let's open the security group up. Say, for example, copy text, and let's search for it here. So these are the members of the security group, and the permissions for the security group are these. So payroll system interface is an unconstrained integration system security group. Which domains it has access to? Other usages, and then all the permissions that may be defined here. So this kind of security group is specifically used for your inbound and or outbound integrations. When you're running integrations with other systems, other vendors, other providers, such as ADP, such as payroll processor, who are managing your taxation for your employees and the payroll payout to your employees on a bi-weekly, monthly basis. So this payroll interface integration would connect with them, extracting the data from your tenant on a scheduled basis, and this integration would be configured, and then based on the data received from your tenant on a fixed schedule, they would be able to process the payroll for your employees. Some companies choose to do the payroll themselves or manage it themselves. Some of the companies would like to outsource it to one of the third-party vendors who manage the entire payroll for taxation and their disbursement and managing it. So click on the payroll interface, domain security policy, click the value for securable integrations. So we go to security group, maintain domain permissions for the security group. So the domain permissions for the security group are report and task permissions. They don't have any in the system. They only have integration permissions. So domain security policy permitting put access and domain security policies permitting get access. So for putting information into your tenant, so whenever we talk about put or get, we are always referring to Workday as the reference point. So whenever we're giving put access to a security group, we are giving put access to your Workday tenant. So that means that somebody or this particular permissions are being given to this security group to add information to your platform via integrations. Get access will be to extract data from your platform or to view data from your platform from Workday. So three security groups has put access for payroll interface system, and then almost about 40 security groups have access for get permissions for this particular security group. And these are all the domains that we have defined, such as manage organization, non-worker compensation data, compensation pay. It is important to have the basic foundation and understanding of security, how it works. When you are reviewing security within a tenant or reviewing permissions, business processes, domain securities, at least this would give you a very fair insight and idea as to how security framework works in Workday. All right, so let's start with our business process framework chapter. Before we start in this, I would like to have a small discussion around, in your opinions, what is a business process within a given company, and with some examples, please. So if I can elaborate a little bit on that, a business process is a series of tasks that you would like to execute in order to achieve a goal. For example, as Kasturi says, hiring an employee, assigning proposed compensation change or termination, or onboarding, or benefits enrollment, or change organization assignment, or move worker, job change, and so on. I've seen in the past with our functional area report, we've seen that which Workday solution we are looking at, whether we want to enable it or not. It gives us a description of what that functional area is about. Then it gives us the domains that are included in it. And in the last tab, it also shows us the business processes that are enabled with that functional area or the Workday solution. So business processes are created, defined by Workday for each functional area or Workday solution that you enable within your tenant. And business processes are to achieve your larger objective based on a series of tasks that you may want to define from beginning till end as a standardized process based on some conditions and based on some responsibilities assigned to different roles. So somebody can initiate a job change for a given employee. Somebody needs to review. Somebody may need to approve. Somebody may need to then perform some tasks on it. The system may need to do some activity on it. And then after all going through all the processes, it comes to an end and it says that the process has been successfully completed. So that job change has been applied to on that given worker after going through the business process. And based on an effective date as defined in the business process, that job change will come into effect within Workday for that particular user. So the agenda for business process framework is going to be an overview about what business processes are, business process definitions, review, definition of available actions on business process notifications. Overview, how does a business process work? So the initiator kicks off a business process of a certain type. Workday determines which business process definition to use. Based on the target object, task steps configured in the definition are sent to process users based on contextual security, and a business process event is created. Target object is updated when event is complete. So overview of a sample hire process, such as initiation. The specific group can initiate, propose compensation, manager proposes and approves, then review. So HR partner reviews and make changes. In the approval chain, two managers approve as final steps, and then steps are completed. To do, facilities assign employee office. So this is a sequence of a hire business process, just an example, but this is how typically a business process would go around for hiring. So let's see configurable business process. So the business process framework lets you define and implement business processes to suit the way your company works. So based on your company policy, you can define the higher business process as per your company policy. So you can choose a task that composes a business process and in what order they must be completed. So the order, the sequence, who needs to do what, who can do what, can be managed through the business process, configuration, and sequencing. You can define custom business processes for any supervisory organization. The business process logic is inherited, so subordinate organization automatically use a business process defined for a superior organization, unless a subordinate has its own version of the process. For example, you have sales and marketing as your not top level, but say one of the highest level of superior organization or sub orgs. Then you have engineering, then you have human resources, and then you have R&D, for example. And your default definition of your business process for hire could be uh, same for say sales and marketing, for HR, for technology, but for R&D you have very specific or very different business process steps or tasks that you may need to have a separate business process for your R&D supervisory organization. which may not be similar or in sync with the other superorgs, executive level management supervisory organizations. So if you need to have a specific uh, type of business process for a given supervisory organization, you have the capability of doing that, and can inherit to all the subordinate organizations as well within that superorg, such as, for example, you have an R&D, you have, say, material sciences, you have environmental sciences, you have other divisions and departments within your R&D. So whatever superorg or business process that you assigned on the R&D supervisory organization will then further inherit to all the subordinates under R&D. So configurable business process, a BP includes tasks that are needed to be completed in order for a business event to occur. The business process definition specifies a security group responsible for each task or step in the process. It notifies the workers in those groups and gets feedback on when each step is complete so it can move on to the next step. Some examples of configurable business process in staffing functional area, like create position, create job requisition, contract contingent worker and contingent worker contract, transfer contingent worker, edit hiring restrictions and positions, hire, terminate, change job. Examples of configurable business process for compensation could be request one-time payment, request stock grant, request compensation change, propose compensation hire. The names are quite self-explanatory. So if you have any questions about any specific business process, we can discuss those examples. So examples of configurable business process for benefit events like change benefits for open enrollment, change retirement savings, change benefit for life events. Examples of configurable business process for time off / leave requests, request time off, request leave of absence, correct time off, request return from leave of absence. So all these tasks, high-level tasks, are managed through business processes. So examples of configurable BPs, like personal data events, date of birth correction, edit ID information, personal information change, marital status change. So default versus customizations for business process definitions. So generally speaking, when you are setting up a brand new tenant, so your implementation partner, part of the scoping for your company would ask you about these majority of those business processes that you have in your company in place, what steps and actions that your company would or does as a routine as per company policy, and set those steps up for you within the business process. But from Workday, the business process is delivered as a bare bone. So it would not have the steps available or pre-configured within a business process when you enable a functional area or a Workday solution. A good example to access those steps or to have a reference as to how it can be configured would be your Workday community, the GMS tenant for a commercial organization. Or then they have two other types of tenants, like a university and then a government entity as well. So the GMS tenant could become a good reference when you're setting up any new functional areas or any new business processes, and it can give you some ideas as to examples of what Workday gives as a in the GMS tenant. So business process and sub processes. What configuration makes the most sense for your business? So initiate hire, propose compensation, review compensation, then review hire, then create Workday account and hire. So this is just an example, but every company or every organization would have a slight different variation of business processes and the order and the steps they would like to uh, set up in the higher business process. So different organizations may want different steps or approvals at different stages of the business process. So default versus org specific. So hire for GMS, Global Modern Services, Executive Management, Finance and Administration. So under finance, financial planning, legal, and hire for legal. So maybe for a different company, higher default could be Acme Corporation on a corporate level, then Acme Admin, Acme Toys. And depending on the uh, organization, the business process could be done in a different way. How their org structure is set up, how their roles are set up, what their policies are, and accordingly. So if you're trying to create organization-specific business processes, Workday allows a different set of steps or business processes workflow to be created for specific supervisory organizations. For example, the higher business process used by IT could be different than the higher business process used by HR through creating an organization-specific business process. You can override the default definition by copying it and then configuring the copy on a particular supervisory organization. So again, you cannot create a new business process, but you can make a copy of the default definition of the business process and apply it to a specific supervisory organization. You can do the following to create this organization-specific business process, which will be discussed on the slides later, like copy existing definition or link existing definition. So default versus org specific. So the pros for default business processes are recommended approach and ease of maintenance. Cons are complex condition rules can slow down processing times. So organization specific business processes. Pros are cleaner and easier to analyze. Better performance if complex rules are there, otherwise necessary. Cons are maintenance if common steps needed across all copies. You need to go to each of the copy of your business process and apply those common steps that you may need in all the business processes, in all that type of business processes. Testing, ensuring the right business process definition is being used. So the rules and definition of who is allowed to use that business process, which superorg is allowed to use it, which are the members of that superorg are able to use that copied business process or are able to use a default business process. So such testings would be required when you're running organization-specific business processes. So copying a business process definition. So where you can open up a business process from the related actions menu, select the business process. You can either copy or link a business process definition, select the copy workflow definition to business option, say choose Global Modern Services PLC UK from the prompt. So let's try this out. So let's try to open a business process, say BP hire. So you can see the default definition, which is the default business process. And then all of the other business processes are copy of the default business process, and they are either assigned to a particular supervisory organization, like the chairman department, hire for BG finance analyst department, and so on. So business process, I can go to the business process, go to copy or link business process definition. So copy workflow definition to business object or rule-based. Let's select supervisory organization here. Say, let's see if we have any of ours. Let's say HR. Let's select HR Services Department. And let's press OK. So now for the business object of HR Services Department or support, we have copied the default hire business process along with all the steps that were available in that business process. You can see step A, B, C, D, E. If there are any parallel steps, they would be mentioned here. If there are any conditions, they would be in the if section. What is the task type? Like this is an action, approval, action. Which specific action needs to be taken, like propose compensation hire, review hire, employee hire, create a Workday account. And for approval, there's no specific action. So approval then goes to the security group. So propose compensation hire action step is assigned to compensation partner. Action for review employee hire is assigned to HR partner. Approval is assigned to manager. And then action create Workday account is assigned to security partner. So when I press OK, now I have a copy of hire business process for HR services department. So if I open up the HR services department, this is a supervisory organization, and this will be assigned to HR services department itself as a support and all the subordinate organizations as well. It will not be applicable on accounts payable department. So business process definitions, the list of steps or tasks that comprises the business process and the roles responsibility for completing them. Business process and security. So who can start the business process, who can perform action steps within the business process, who can perform actions on the entire business process, who can approve, correct, cancel, and rescind steps, and who can reassign tasks. So in the earlier chapter, when we were talking about domain security policy and business process security policy, so this part is now going to cover all the business process security policy and how we are going to see it in action. So you can specify the order in which certain items occur within a business process in order to manage the order of execution, the order of business process steps, the order of rules in a condition, the order of to-dos in a checklist, the order in which step help is processed. So all these can be configured within your business process for the order of execution. Like, for example, you would like to have one step before the other or one step after the earlier. So that order can be defined within the business process as well. First thing, the business processes becomes available within your tenant when you enable a Workday solution for a given functional area.
Mm-hmm.
So you will not have all the business processes available that are entirely available in the GMS tenant or in the demo tenant that we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So whichever Workday solution you are acquiring as a license to use and operate, the functional area will include the domains and the business processes related to that Workday solution. So it will activate only when you have a solution that you have licensed for within Workday. Coming to the second part of your question, that can you have a 1 mega business process that does everything for you in one go? And it could be complex like crazy. And you can have all the areas like from the pre-hire to job rec to, you know, hiring out the employee, then the onboarding, then propose compensation, and then, setting up the benefits, and then, making job changes. And so whatever you would like to do for a typical hire within an organization, you would like to have a 1 mega business process and which would not be possible. You cannot have a single business process do everything for you, but whichever functional area, for example, one is a hire, then there's a proposed compensation, then it's like creating your Workday user account. Then the onboarding starts where the employee provides all their personal information, such as their identity information, their personal contact information, emergency contacts, and whatnot. Then maybe the next step would be benefits enrollment for that worker. So you can link business processes that what should fire at which step in terms of a business process from whichever area it is off. So your business process will continue to flow, even it's a combination of multiple business processes. It will continue to flow until it reaches the last step of your combined aggregated business processes. Absolutely. And that's how it should be. Because we cannot expect one kind of business process, which is from a specific functional area, to do everything for you. But you can link the business processes as steps. For example, you have a hire business process, and towards the end of hire, you instruct the business process to kick off onboarding for this employee. So then it'll start the onboarding business process. So hire could have, proposed compensation, organization assignment, assign cost centers, assigns supervisory organizations, and then propose compensation like the salary, payroll, and whatever the information that is needed to be required. And then after your hire process is complete, you can, towards the end of it, you can link it that, okay, when hire is complete, then kick off the onboarding.
Onboarding. Okay.
So the onboarding business process step would have, the first thing that it goes to HR for approval that you want to initiate onboarding for this employee. And HR says, okay, go ahead, approve. Then the 15, 20 steps that you may have for the onboarding business process, such as, review documents like company policies that you want to send the employee to acknowledge them and e-sign them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say a set of 15 policy documents to the worker. Second step could be, enter personal information to the worker. So the employee would need to, update the first name, middle name, last name, date of birth, national IDs, uh, beneficiaries information, change emergency contacts, and so on. So whatever company policy you have, so all those steps would be done for the contact information. Next could be that the user can fill out a digital form where their username, password, and the preferences could be asked for them for a account ID. So how to search for a business process in the tenant? So you go to the search bar, you put the shortcut for BP colon and enter the name of the business process. It's as simple as that. So all business processes for the SUPORGs are listed under the SUPORG business process menu. So if you have copies of your business processes for specific supervisory organization, so when you click on the related actions button, you should have the business process menu for that particular support if you have any specific copies of support assigned to specific supervisory organizations. So issues with adding other groups such as finance executive as approver must have access to domain and be part of the business process security policy. So use a business process security policy for functional area report. It will tell you that, for example, the proposed compensation hire business process policy is in a core compensation functional area. So when the completion step finishes, the business process is listed as complete, even if there are more steps to do. This really comes in handy that, in order for a business process like onboarding, um, so after onboarding, you would like to say link the business process or fire off the business process for, say, benefits enrollment. But say you have about 12 steps in your onboarding process, but your first 6 critical steps that you must have that information ASAP as part of your onboarding process. So at the 6th step, when you mark it as complete, the other steps will continue to function and it will wait for the user to send the information and the approval process and the task that whoever it's assigned. It will continue to work, but once this is marked as complete at the sixth step, the next business process, which may be linked, can fire up as well. For example, a person can be listed as hired even if the steps for having a new employee enter their personal information and W4 form are not done as yet. Completion makes a data for this business process available to other systems like payroll. If there are no completion steps, the business process is considered complete. The business process configuration report provides the steps type available for that business process type, such as approval, checklist, questionnaires, to do, service, kicks off separate Workday owner owned, processing, except example, Workday account creation and document delivery to external servers. Consolidated approval combines multiple approvals for the same person into a single approval task notification. You can have swim lane diagrams for a business process as well. I'll show you when we go back to the tenant. Find event support can help you answer questions such as what is the status of a specific hire? Why was a hire canceled or rescinded? What are all the hires initiated by a specific employee? All right, so let's have a look at these two reports. The business process configuration report. So this report will give you the business process configuration options like business process name, description, sub-process only, allowed for sub-processes, valid for usage, advanceable, rescindable approval options, and all the related details for with that business process can be found here in a snapshot format. So allowed actions, which tasks are allowed, options to save, initiate sub-processes, restrictions, event service, any other restrictions there. So this will give you a complete like an inside image of what has been configured into a given business process. Second report is find events, say hire. So this is a search-based report, so you can customize your search for find events. So you can search by selecting an initiating worker as to who initiated it, about the worker, which worker that we are focusing on. So we can go by organizations as well, and we can even search by status as well. So let's see, I would like to see how many hire processes were rescinded. So here I can see hire Mary Adams was rescinded, hire Lily Kang was rescinded, hire Arvind was rescinded, and what dates. Hire Abby was rescinded, and so on. If I want to see which are in progress, so I can see which are stuck in a business process definition error. How many hires are completed? So about 529 successfully completed. Any questions, thoughts about business processes so far? Because again, this is going to be, well, all of them are important, but then business process is going to be something that you would be using on a day-to-day basis within your Workday tenant in your organizations. So I want to take it step by step and try to elaborate as much as I can, go into the details and in depth for each of the processes when we start working on it. Let me show you the swim lanes as well on a business process. Give me one moment. say BP hire. So these are the steps from initiation till completion. So 5 steps. So if I like to look at it in streamline, so I can look at the diagram, I can zoom in, and then it can give us a interactive swim lane diagram for that particular business process and how it's working.